When I was a kid growing up, I was always nervous about girls and how girls would perceive me or see me for my condition. And I'm going to be totally open and honest. For me, I was like, if I could just lose my virginity once, that's all I sort of cared about at the time.
Hi mate.
How you doing?
I'm John.
Nick Houghton, nice to meet you.
I know a bit about you, mate. It's hard not to.
Hope for good things.
Can I ask you specifically what your disability is?
So I was born 2 months premature, diagnosed with spastic diplegia, which is a form of cerebral palsy. It affects my legs and my muscle growth and strength. Standing and walking is difficult, or used to be a lot more difficult than it is today. But yeah, that's pretty much generally what it is.
I'm a right leg above knee amputee, but I've also got left leg total paralysis below the knee. I acquired this back in 1989 when I was 24. I had a motorbike accident and unfortunately I was left for dead.
And was it with the way you landed?
When I came round I was in a bad state, yeah. I knew that I'd at least broken my leg and then another motorist drove over me. So I was knocked off and then driven over, and that's when they reckon that I sustained, you know, the sort of fatal, well, the almost fatal injuries that I've now got.
I mean, for me with my condition, it's sort of all I know. But for someone like yourself who was able-bodied, how is that transition?
You don't come to terms with being thrust into being all of a sudden a disabled person. It was horrible at that time to be disabled. To live a normal life and then not be able to do things, it's how do you cope?
When was the first time you felt excluded because your disability was not accounted for?
For me, it's when I first came out of hospital. Back in 1989, a disabled person was still institutionalised. So I got into my home, couldn't get out again. That's when I felt as though society had let me down. You just feel as though, is this going to be my life now? I'm going to always have these issues to get over. I've suffered with clinical depression. I tried to commit suicide straight after my accident. When did you actually feel as though, you know, you felt excluded?
Probably my school days. People would look at you like you're some sort of alien. They didn't understand why you sort of walked the way you did or why your legs were bent. And I remember sort of crying to myself one night thinking, you know, why am I sort of the chosen one to have had this condition and how do I move forward from it? There's always trials and tribulations that have sort of put me on the back foot, but it's just sort of built me into who I am today in terms of not taking no for an answer and pushing forward and staying true to myself. Everyone struggles mentally.
Yeah.
I think life is 90% mental, 10% physical, in absolutely anything. And if someone says that they don't struggle mentally, they're lying. How does your disability affect your love life? I think it's a great question. Great question.
How did it affect my love life? I don't think it does, to be honest. You know, obviously there's certain limitations to what you can and can't do. A good relationship will work around those issues, and you just make it more fun.
For me, when I was a kid growing up, I was always nervous about girls and how girls would perceive me or see me for my condition. And I'm going to be totally open and honest. For me, I was like, if I could just lose my virginity once, that's all I sort of cared about at the time. So I have a lot of able-bodied parents coming to me. The mum asked me, you know, what would he be like, sort of being with a girl or having sex with a girl or whatever. And I just pointed to my girlfriend. I said, look, I've got a girlfriend. You know, we're happy together. Any issues that you feel that you would have in a relationship because of your disability, I think is irrelevant. What's something people always ask you?
Do you have to buy shoes in pair?
Do you have to buy shoes in?
That's what I always get asked, yeah. How has accessibility changed in your lifetime?
I've been quite fortunate because I can still walk and move, even though I couldn't initially at times. I would always make sure I could get where I needed to go to without potentially asking people or needing certain aids or access. But it hasn't necessarily affected me personally, which I'm sure is probably different to you.
Massively, yeah. When I was first injured, if I found a public house or a restaurant That would be my public house or restaurant that I would go to all the time because I knew that I could access it. You know, I can remember going to civic buildings and there was no ramp. I actually got out of my wheelchair and bummed up the stairs, you know, and dragged my wheelchair behind me. I've noticed over the course of time that things are getting better. I wouldn't say that they're perfect.
Do you wake up in the morning and wish you weren't disabled?
Yeah, at times, yeah. You know,
But there's times where you feel like you're glad you are. Have you learnt more about yourself being disabled than you did being able-bodied?
I don't like life as a disabled person. I wish I was able-bodied. I feel as though, and they do, because I'm a wheelchair user, I feel as though sometimes people look down on you.
Do you ever feel that your disability is an inconvenience to others?
I perceive my disability as an inconvenience to others. I try and make it though it isn't, and sometimes I'm too stubborn for my own good and never ask for help when clearly help is needed.
I don't see it as an inconvenience in the slightest. If someone did see it as an inconvenience, it wouldn't make any difference to my mentality towards it. For me, it's all about making things as easy and as most convenient for myself. I always have a motto. It's not like a special one. It's just how I use it, and it's, you know, if there's a fence and I need to get over the fence, I don't care how I look, whether I crawl over it, whether people laugh whilst I try and get over it, whether I go through it. As long as I get over it, I don't really care.
Who were your role models when you were growing up then, Nick?
I would say my main role models definitely got to be my parents. Tried to keep me as independent as possible, where I had to learn to do everything. Next role model is got to be Alex Zanardi. Alex Zanardi was an able-bodied racing driver, crashed in 2001, lost both legs. You know, he was very inspirational to me.
My role model really came about when I got back into the workplace after my accident. This gentleman came along to interview me or measure me up for a wheelchair, and this gentleman was a high-level C6-7 tetraplegic. He drove a manual car, so he lived life to the fullest, and his disability didn't get in his way. And I suppose that person, a gentleman called Stuart Dunn, he became my role model, and he was just somebody that I've always looked up to because he just got on with life. When did you first come across your sport?
So I'm a British touring car driver. I decided I wanted to race cars. My dad gave me the opportunity. I had a modified car to modify my, to help my condition. First race was pretty surreal, but it was a good one, a positive step. The fact that I was racing and competing with able-bodied people and beating able-bodied people and realising the amount of people I was starting to inspire.
I've been involved in archery from 1997 till the current day, and it's been my life. It was never on my radar to go to Paralympic Games, so now it's all about me getting to become the best I can for 2020. Tokyo is my drive. It's going to be my final games. I want to go and I want to sign off from the sport then.
For me, it's like I had no choice. It was either have a life and move forward, get over your condition and actually try and create something. Almost see that's resonated massively with you. You found sport, it's given you a purpose, which is exactly the same as me. And you've gone to achieve, you know, some fantastic feats being a disabled person. I think it's incredible what you've done, from being able-bodied to having this massive accident, have to really focus on changing your lifestyle, how people perceive you, all that sort of stuff.
It's been great meeting you, Nick.
Thanks so much.
No worries.